Welcome everyone to Talk Crafted English. Liam, before we even step into the supermarket, let's talk about the importance of making a shopping list. Why is this such a key step for English learners?
Thanks, Olivia. A shopping list helps us organize what we need and practice naming items in English. For example, writing a loaf of bread, some apples, or a bottle of milk helps us remember both vocabulary and the correct way to talk about quantities.
Exactly. And by using specific phrases, like a bunch of bananas or a bag of rice, we get comfortable with common packaging terms. How do you recommend learners build their lists?
I suggest starting by grouping items by category: fruits, vegetables, snacks, and so on. This mirrors how supermarkets are organized and makes it easier to find things, while also reinforcing those English words in context.
Moving into the store, the produce section is usually the first stop. Liam, what are some useful English phrases when picking out fruits and vegetables?
One common question is, do you have any fresh lettuce? You can also say, where can I find the tomatoes? Or ask, are these apples organic? These questions help learners interact confidently with store staff.
Great examples. And when talking about quantity, we often use a few for countable items like apples, and some for uncountables like spinach. Why is this distinction important?
Because it affects which words we use. A few works for things you can count a few carrots. For things you can't count individually, like lettuce, we say some lettuce. Practicing these helps avoid common mistakes.
Let's explore that a bit more. The difference between countable and uncountable nouns often confuses learners. How can you easily tell them apart when shopping?
A simple tip is to ask, can I count it? If yes, it's countable like eggs or oranges. If no, it's uncountable like milk or cheese. For example, we say a carton of eggs, but a piece of cheese.
That's helpful. And sometimes, packaging solves the issue: a loaf of bread or a packet of sugar, so you can still talk about quantities even with uncountable nouns.
Exactly. Packaging words bridge the gap. Plus, learning these expressions is essential for real-life communication, not just grammar drills.
Let's dive into quantity expressions like a little, a few, and some. Liam, can you give practical examples using these in the supermarket?
Sure. A few apples is used for 3 or 4 apples. A little salt might mean just a pinch. Some rice is general, without a specific amount. These help us sound more natural and avoid sounding too formal or robotic.
Right, and using these makes our requests friendlier. For instance, could I have a little cheese? Sounds polite and conversational compared to just asking for cheese.
Exactly. Native speakers rarely use exact numbers unless needed, so these expressions make learners blend in better.
Sometimes, it's tricky to find items in a big supermarket. What are some polite ways to ask staff for help locating products?
A classic phrase is, "Excuse me, where can I find the dairy section?" Or, "Do you know if you have any almond milk?" Adding "please" or "could you help me" makes it even more polite.
And if you're looking for something specific, like gluten-free bread, you might say, "Is there any gluten-free bread available?" It's direct, but courteous.
Exactly. Asking questions this way not only gets you the help you need, but also builds confidence in everyday English conversations.
Let's say you find the product, but want it in a different size. How would you ask for this politely in English, Liam?
You could say, "Can I get this in a smaller size?" Or, "Do you have this in a larger package?" These phrases are useful for everything from milk to cereal.
And if you're unsure about the quantity you need, asking, "How much does this weigh?" helps you decide. Staff appreciate clear, polite requests.
Absolutely. Understanding packaging terms like jar, can, packet, or carton also helps you communicate exactly what you want.
Let's focus on two common sections: dairy and bakery. What vocabulary should learners remember when shopping here?
For dairy, words like a carton of milk, a block of cheese, and a tub of yogurt come up often. In the bakery, you'll hear a loaf of bread, a roll, or a slice of cake.
And when asking for recommendations, you might say, "Which bread is the freshest today?" Or, "Is this cheese mild or strong?" These questions show interest and build rapport.
Great point. These sections can be intimidating for beginners, but using the right phrases makes the experience smoother and more enjoyable.
Supermarkets are social places. What are some polite ways to interact with staff or other shoppers, especially when it's crowded?
Saying, "Excuse me," when passing by or reaching for an item is always appreciated. If you need advice, could you recommend a good snack? Opens up friendly conversation.
And if someone's in your way, a simple, "Pardon me, may I get through?" is polite and effective. These small phrases make a big difference in everyday interactions.
Absolutely. Using please, thank you, and a smile goes a long way, even if your English isn't perfect yet.
Once you're ready to pay, what phrases should learners know for the checkout process?
You'll often hear, "Would you like a bag?" or "cash" or "card." You might reply, "I'd like to pay by card, please," or "Can I have a receipt?" These are everyday expressions at the cashier.
If you need to split the bill or clarify a price, you could ask, "Could you check the price of this item?" Or, "Can we pay separately?"
Exactly. Understanding these phrases helps avoid confusion and makes the whole experience smoother, especially in a busy store.
To wrap up, reviewing your shopping trip in English is a great way to practice. How can learners do this at home, Liam?
Try describing what you bought. "I got some oranges, a loaf of bread, and a bottle of juice." Or practice conversations aloud, like asking for help or checking out.
You can also role-play with a friend, switching roles between shopper and staff. This helps reinforce vocabulary and builds confidence for real-life situations.
Exactly. The more you repeat these scenarios, the more natural your English will become, making your next supermarket trip even easier.